Just came back from inline skating. Definitely not one of those habits I've been able to keep, but it was fun and never say never. I don't know why I always sit on the floor to film, but for some reason this is the best lighting in the apartment and also it's comfy, so here we go. Hi everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Katarina and today we're going to talk about habits and the habits that I've been able to stick to over the past couple of years, and also going into why I think I've been able to stick with them. So if you're someone who's been trying to pick up some habits to stay sane, to get shit done, to just feel good in your body and in your mind, but you just can't seem to stick with them, then this video might be helpful for you. So this is not going to be one of those videos where I tell you some life-changing habits that have completely transformed my life. Definitely not, because I think habits, while they can be helpful, one habit is not going to completely change the rest of your life. I mean, some maybe do, but I feel like some of those videos where they tell you that is a bit of an exaggeration. But still, I think habits are a great thing and they do help you to get some structure into your day. They really help you to, be motivated. They help you to, work on your mental health and a bunch of other things. This video is also not about packing 100 things into your morning routine, because also there are some morning routines that are just simply unrealistic and we're not going to follow one of those. The habits that I'm following are happening throughout my day, not necessarily in the morning. Some of them do, but some also at night or throughout the day. And I'm going to go through them one by one. So both good habits and bad habits that I've been able to stick to, because I do want to keep it real and I want to keep it honest and realistic. I do think that, for every couple of good habits, we definitely do have some bad habits, and that's just part of life. That's human nature. We can't get rid of all of our quote bad habits. There are just going to be some habits that you might not like and that you want to improve on, but it's okay. Like, you can't do everything perfect at the same time. So in this video, we're going to be realistic. We're going to cut ourselves some slack, but we're also going to get some great habits going. So let's start with the good habits, shall we? Because then you might have a better impression of me. So some of the habits, I'm just going to keep them very simple. There's not that many habits that I've been able to really stick with consistently, but there are some, and yeah. No, okay. Okay, so let's get into the good habits, shall we? I'm quoting this because what are good habits for me might not be good habits for you. So of course, you think about your own habits that you actually want to adopt. Some of the things that I'm doing might not work for you, and that's totally okay. Here we're actually just more talking about how I've been able to pick them up and how I've been able to stick with them. And maybe it also serves as some inspiration for some of the habits that you might want to adopt in your life. So habit number one for me, which I started during COVID, this was the perfect time to pick up this habit because I had time, I was at home, and I needed to move my body, which is a very important thing. And it is yoga. I know, cliche, yoga. I'm one of those people who does yoga consistently. But yoga, I'm not kidding, it's just something, I actually haven't done many yoga classes, which is probably not the best thing. I haven't picked it up like in, going to a studio every week, but also because it's very expensive, and I'm just a very comfortable person, especially in the morning, and I do love to just start my morning by doing some yoga and stretching, and that is something that I've really been able to stick with since COVID. I did it before, so I've been practicing some form of yoga for the past 6 years, I would say, but not consistently. And when COVID when COVID came around in 2020, this was right literally from the beginning, I was like, okay, I need something in the morning to keep me grounded, and for me that was yoga. It was just something that came naturally to me. It's something that I enjoyed, and this is a key word. If you enjoy it, then it's just going to come so much easier to you. There's no point in forcing yourself to do something if you don't really find joy in it. And that was also already, I think, maybe a big lesson. If you're going to pick up a habit, make sure it's something that you actually like doing. I do yoga about probably 4 times a week, I would say, in the morning, and I don't do it for long. I do it for like 15 to 30 minutes, 4 times a week, and it's something that I really love. I get up, I go into another room, if you have another room, it does help. I roll out my yoga mat, and then I just do some yoga. I turn on a YouTube video. I follow, I think Yoga with Adrian is great, Boho Beautiful. I'm just gonna link some of those below. I just follow a couple of YouTube channels, and I do their videos and I just love them. And some of them I do on repeat. There's literally some I've done like probably 50 times. And I know what to expect. I know it's a great stretch. I know it's a great way to wake up my body, and I just love to do it. And so, yeah, I think yoga for me has really helped me also just stay grounded and also be present in the now and just make me feel better and stick with my anxiety, or not stick with my anxiety, to improve my anxiety a little bit and make it a little bit less. And every time I don't feel like it, I just think of how I will feel afterwards, and then I just find a way to do it. And yeah, for me, that's been just doing that at home, because I think if I had forced myself to go to yoga studios 4 times a week, I probably would not be able to stick with it. So I think lesson here is just modeling something, a habit that for you that works exactly for you and your lifestyle. And maybe that's going to a studio, maybe that's going to a workout class, but it could also just be at home, and it's much cheaper and it's just more comfy, and you might be more likely to actually do it. Another thing with yoga, and I think why I've been able to stick with it, is because I started out doing a 30-day challenge. And this is actually a theme for a lot of my habits, spoiler alert. I started out a lot of my habits with a challenge. So I said to myself when I first began with yoga, I was like, okay, for 30 days, I'm going to do yoga every single morning. And I think Yoga with Adrienne had a really great challenge. She does this every January or something. And I just did one of her January daily challenges and just did yoga every morning. And then it became such a habit and it became so integrated into my life by that time that I had no trouble to then keep going. And now I don't take it as seriously, because there are some mornings where I just don't want to do it, or I just have other things. And so it's okay, I don't need to do it every day, but it's become a habit. So I'm easily able to get back into it just because I've been doing that for the 30 days. And now it's just so part of my life. So the second habit I've been able to stick to is no coffee. This is like a counter, it's like a no habit, but basically I'm replacing coffee with other drinks now. And I used to love coffee, I still do. I just absolutely love the taste of it. I never drank it, like I didn't begin drinking it because I, needed it to wake up. I actually began drinking coffee because I love the taste. Always have, since I was a little kid. And I grew up in Melbourne, Australia, and there we have the most amazing coffee culture. Everyone gets coffees, and the coffees there are just spot on. They're just on another level, trust me. If you do go to Melbourne, you have to have a lot of coffees. And yeah, from that, I just started picking up this habit of drinking regular coffees. It started with probably one every now and then it became one every day, and then it became 2 or even 3 a day. And I know some people drink even more, but for me, I think three cups of coffee was a lot. And I then moved to Germany, and I studied in Germany, and when I studied here, I noticed that the taste of the coffee was just not the same. And I still drank the coffee though, because at that point I had become so dependent on the coffee and, was kind of coffee addicted, and I needed the caffeine to wake me up. And so I had one every morning when I got to uni, and it was like this gross filter coffee, which didn't even taste that great, but I still had it anyway. And I did that for a while, probably for a good 1.5 or 2 years. And then at some point, my life just became quite stressful. And I started struggling with some anxiety, and I don't know, just reality, adulthood hit maybe, I don't know. But I just got quite anxious with my workload, and I noticed that whenever I had coffee, I would feel worse afterwards, and I would feel even more stressed and more anxious. And obviously, because the caffeine, it fuels that kind of anxiety in your body, and it can make you feel really good for a while, but after that's kind of worn off, you can feel shaky or you can feel nervous. I would feel even nauseous sometimes. And that wasn't great. That really wasn't great. And so I decided, hey, I'm just going to try and quit coffee for a while. Same thing again as with the yoga. I started with the challenge. I was like, okay, for 1 week or 2 weeks, I can't remember what it was, but it's a certain amount of time, I will not drink any coffee. And I tried a couple of times and failed a couple of times, because it was just, I don't know, it was just so hard, because I had a headache the second day, or like even the first, like I had the worst headaches, and obviously my body was screaming for that caffeine kick in the morning. And at some point, I don't know how, but I think I just was getting to a point where I was just feeling really bad when I had coffee every time. And I was like, okay, I need to just stop this. And this was, I think, around the beginning of 2020, just before COVID hit. I just said, okay, cold turkey, let's quit coffee for a while. And I didn't say never, you know, I didn't say I'm never going to drink coffee again, because I think that's just extreme. And as you know, I told you I love coffee. So I just said, okay, for 2 weeks now, or for a couple of weeks, I'm not going to drink any coffee. And then I just stuck with it. It was very painful the first couple of days or so. It was really bad. I had the worst headaches and was just craving this caffeine, this coffee. But I didn't give in, and I just tried to experiment with alternatives. That's the key here as well. If you're gonna replace a bad habit with a good habit, then just put in, you know, some fun alternatives in there. For me, that was in the beginning, like this, what's it called? I'm gonna insert it here when I think about the name. Lupinen Cafe. I don't know what it is in English. There are some like coffee replacements, which is like a powder and then you mix it and dissolve it, and it's also coffee, but it's like based on not coffee. It doesn't have any caffeine in it. And then over time, I also discovered matcha latte, which is definitely not something for everyone, but I really started enjoying it. And I started making it myself at home and sometimes having it in cafes, but it's so expensive in Berlin. Like, you literally sometimes pay €5 for a matcha latte, which is insane to me. And also the powder itself is expensive, but it does last a while. And for me, it's worthwhile. Instead of investing in coffee, I just invest in matcha. And I just get a decaf cappuccino now at the cafe instead of a caffeine-filled coffee. So yeah, I think coffee has been a worthwhile habit that I've been able to stick with. And again, it's been because it started as a challenge, I would say, a couple of weeks, and also finding great replacements. I think that was the other thing that really helped me to stick with that no habit, basically. Okay, so there are 2 more habits that I've been able to stick with regularly. The other thing is regular journaling. So I know this is also another cliche thing, like every YouTuber says that. Every YouTuber has that in their morning routine. But I swear to you, I do love journaling, and it's not something that I do every single morning. Not yet, or maybe not ever. Let's see. But regular writing and journaling and just expressing my thoughts on paper or just in written form has been so helpful. And I've been doing this for years and years and years now. Sometimes more regularly and sometimes not, but at the moment in recent times I've just been doing it more. Also not every morning, but I would say about 3 to 4 times a week. And that's for me enough. I don't want to force myself to do it every morning because it is quite time intensive. So yeah, I either write in a paper journal, or sometimes I even have like Evernote. I don't know if anyone still remembers Evernote. It was the thing before Notion. And I just dump all of my thoughts and my, I brain dump into Evernote, and that's like kind of been my diary. And so I just have that on my computer just for my journaling. And yeah, I sometimes do like a complete, if everything gets too overwhelming, I literally just write out all of my thoughts and I just write out everything on my mind, and I feel so much better. And I basically problem solve. It's like my own therapist with myself. So yeah, journaling on paper, or sometimes I give myself some prompts or I give myself a question, but most of the time it's literally just writing down what's on my mind. And journaling, I don't even know how I got into it. I think for me, this was actually more of an intuitive thing. I used to write a lot of stories when I was younger, like fictional stories. And actually recently my therapist suggested that I should even just do that as a form of therapy, just in my own time, just write fiction again, because I haven't been doing that. So that's kind of how my writing habit started. I just have been naturally wanting to do it. So it's hard to kind of share that advice of how to stick with it. But also I think in terms of the actual real journaling, I've really enjoyed the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, I think her name is. It is a really good book about, like, she has this concept of morning pages. You might have heard of it, which is like basically writing 3 pages of just stream of consciousness, writing like whatever's on your mind every morning. Yeah. And then I think just having a big enough reason. I think if you're someone who's in their head a lot, journaling really does help, and it's a good habit to stick with. Okay, and the last habit, it is one that I've been able to stick with for the longest time, and it also started out with 30-day challenge. Literally, this is the key, I feel, for me for sticking with habits, is making everything a 30-day challenge, because it screams, fun, it's a challenge, but it's not forever. But this one actually turned into a very long time, actually 8-year thing. So that habit is eating plant-based food. So eating no animal products and no meat. So eating vegan basically, but I would say I call myself more plant-based because I have been sometimes, eating some other stuff here and there, but in general I eat pretty much vegan. And I've been able to stick with that for the past 8.5 years. And it's something that I'm very proud of for some reason, for sticking with it, because it's not easy. And it is easier in Berlin for sure. There's so many great restaurants in Berlin. Also in Melbourne, where I grew up, they also have some great restaurants. But whenever I travel, I kid you not, it is so hard sometimes and so frustrating sometimes, but it also does become this fun challenge of, trying to hunt down these vegan restaurants or trying to find really good vegan food, and it makes me happy every time I do find some. But yeah, it's not easy, but it is something that I'm very convinced, like for this, actually, it started out because of this 30-day challenge I set for myself, but also just because the reasoning for me, or like the reason why I'm doing it is so high, or so convincing, that I've just been able to stick with it, no questions asked. Like, no, I just know that it's something that I want to do. So this video is not supposed to convince you to go vegan, that's for sure not, but I think it can be a good lesson to know why you want to pick up a habit. And for me, for example, going vegan, I wanted to go vegan because of the ethical side of things. I watched a bunch of very heartbreaking documentaries about how animals are treated in this industry, and it just, like, I love animals and I just don't want to support it. There was so many reasons for me to not kind of eat animal products, and so that's why I decided to go vegan. And in the beginning I was very, very strict with it, and now every now and then, just because I've been doing it for so long, I know kind of when I can make an exception. Like, for example, eating a non-vegan croissant in Paris, for example, or eating a piece of cake at like my grandparents' house, or like, but I think this is also something, yeah, I've just been able to do because I've done this habit for so long. So yeah, I think another great example that habits will stick with you if you have a big enough reason for them. Okay, and now let's get into some bad habits, shall we? I'm not going to keep this section too long. I just want to go into this briefly and talk about some of the bad habits that I have, which I still haven't been able to kind of break or replace with a good habit, or at least I'm still working on it. But I just want to share that I'm human, everyone's human, everyone has bad habits and good habits, and it's totally okay to have some things that you're still working on, and you don't have to be this perfect person with just good habits. It's just, you're not gonna get there. So yeah, some of the bad habits, I mean, for some people it might not be bad. That's why I'm always doing these. But the first one is, for me, kind of excessive overthinking and anxiety. I know I feel like it's become a habit, definitely. Like overthinking certain things and just contemplating way too much. And I used to not do it so much, but in the past couple of years, I think also since COVID, unfortunately, this just has become much more strong and more present in my life, and it's just something that, yeah, has almost become a habit. Just always automatically thinking about the worst that can happen instead of the best that can happen, and thinking a bit more negatively as opposed to positively, which I used to do much more. And so, yeah, I'm working on that by going to therapy. I'm working on that by journaling and having good habits like yoga, journaling, eating good food. But sometimes it's just something that I've just still not been able to kind of get rid of. And that's okay, I'm accepting it, and I'm accepting that it's a journey and it will get better over time. And maybe over time I'm slowly able to replace this habit of kind of anxiety or like overthinking. I think anxiety you can't replace. It's just something you have to heal, or you have to kind of live with. But I think still this excessive overthinking can be replaced by more positive thinking, or just better, more productive thoughts. The other thing, the second bad habit, I would say, is that I'm still on my phone way too much. I have a screen time, I don't know how many hours, but like at least 2 a day or something on my phone. And it's just crazy to me how I can spend so much time on my phone. How am I spending 2 hours a day on my phone? It's just ridiculous. Like, I should not be staring at this little screen, this little box 2 hours a day. Like, why? So it's one of those habits I'm still not able. I mean, yeah, ever since I've gotten a smartphone, I've just been kind of on my phone way too much. And I'm trying to combat that by deleting some apps like Instagram every now and then. Like, at the moment, I don't have Instagram on my phone. It does help a bit, but I'm replacing this habit of going on Instagram with other apps like LinkedIn for some reason, or I don't even know. For some reason, I still don't get my screen time down. And I think it's maybe because, yeah, of lack of, or just, whenever you get distracted, it's just something easy to reach for, and it's just always there next to you. And I think the only reason maybe is, or the only way to beat it, is also just to go maybe phoneless for a while. Or I know some people, they literally get a flip phone or like one of those really old phones, and then they just use those for a month and can try and live without a smartphone. I think that's a really cool idea. Maybe it's something I will also try and do. But yeah, for now I'm also kind of okay with it because I still read a lot, I still like write a lot, I still do a lot of other things, so I'm not worried that it's like completely over consuming my life, but it's just something that I want to work on. And the other third bad habit, also bad in quotation marks, is not taking my supplements regularly. This might not apply to everyone. I know not everyone takes supplements, but I do take some. So I do take this like vegan one, which does give me some, B12 and also vitamin D. I've just kind of lost track of taking that, and now I went to the doctor the other day. I took a blood test and I'm very low in vitamin D, which explains a lot of my kind of sometimes lack of energy and tiredness, I think, because I'm missing vitamin D. But yeah, that's something I have not been taking regularly, and for some reason taking supplements for me is just, I just don't like it. I mean, who likes swallowing, these weird pills things? But yeah, it is important, at least these two, like, omega-3s and also B12 and vitamin D. But yeah, I'm still working on it. I don't know how to get myself to take it. I think maybe one of the things is just by habit stacking, which is something that you might have read about if you've read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks a lot about that. I haven't actually read the full book, but I read a summary of it. But yeah, that's something I think that can really help, is by taking a habit that you want to implement and kind of stacking it on top of another habit that you already are keeping. So for example, if you brush your teeth every morning at the same time, then you could right afterwards or right before it, you could, do this other habit. For me, that could be taking supplements. Or for me now, I'm trying to do it before I make breakfast, and then I just take some supplements, or afterwards, and that sometimes helps, but it's still not enough, and I still sometimes forget it, or when I go somewhere, I don't know. But that is one of the things I have not been able to do regularly, but that's also okay. It's fine. We're living with it. Okay, so I think that is it for this video. It was a lot of me talking about my random habits and my good and bad habits. I hope you got something from this video. I hope this inspired you somewhat. I hope you maybe got some inspiration on some habits that you also want to follow, or maybe just some ways that you can stick with these habits. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what have been your non-negotiable habits. What are your habits that you've just been able to do for the longest time, and which maybe other people have not been able to do or struggle with? That would be super interesting. So let me know in the comments, and also share your tips for sticking with habits and picking up habits. Maybe you've read some interesting stuff about this topic. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And this was it from me. I think I'm just gonna enjoy the beautiful day outside as much as I can today, and I hope you will too. And I will definitely see you in the next video. Bye!